our meeting to order at 7:05, and we'd like to start with our pledge of allegiance. We've asked Mr. Lewis Leach if he will lead us in those, and then Mr. Ronnie Adams, and our introduction.
Please remove your hats. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, and one indivisible.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time that we gather together to do the work of the community. We pray that we'll all work together to make it better. Pray that this will be a nice, quiet meeting. Thank you for the ones that are participating and are here to the meeting. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, Sheldon. All present, Councilwoman Nelson, and she's out of town tonight. Is there any conflict of interest? We can't hear you. Any conflict of interest that anyone needs to declare for any item on our agenda tonight? If not, we will move on to our citizen comments, and we have a whole bunch of them tonight. We'll start with Mr. Norman Lowry. He lives over on Maisie Drive, and he would like to speak to us about the 4th of July. Okay. Okay, can you hear it now?
I always have kind of the podium that just don't make it for normal size people. Stand up. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude for each of you council members for honoring me as your parade marshal on the 4th. I accepted this honor in honor of my mother and father for the sacrifices they made when they purchased the property in 1936. You know, it's a Bevel original Bevel Acres. At that time, they took on a $4,000 debt when my father was an employee at Magnolia Refinery with a salary of $60 a month. On the event, it was the 4th of July, and our participation, it was enjoyed by 4 generations of my own family and 2 representatives of my brother's, Wilford Lowry, his family. They thoroughly enjoyed the day. I would like to especially thank Councilman Nelson. I think she was our parade committee chairperson, and Mayor Ford. Mayor Ford arranged for our transportation, and my family thought that they might be able to walk it, but she insisted that that would not be possible. So she arranged for us transportation and also decoration. Also, Councilman Prujay for lending us his trailer. Also, a hearty thanks to the members of First Baptist Church. If any of you are here, the food was great, along with your hospitality. It all reminds me, it's a throwback to our early years in this country when the church was the center of our community life. And so it was. Lastly, I'd like to express my appreciation to all of you council members for the work that you do for our city, for maintaining the infrastructure of our city, and also to keep it up to date. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you. Our next one is Mr. Lewis Leach. If you'd like to speak to us about the fire department.
First off, I'd like to apologize for my attire tonight. I didn't plan on speaking for the fire department, but I've seen a lot of new faces come walking through the door. We're stationed right down the street here. We meet on Tuesday nights. We're an all-volunteer organization. I've been on the department going on 15 years. There's only about 2 members younger than me on the department right now. So, you know, the younger generation, if you have younger family that live out here, let them know our doors are open, and we would appreciate the help. Thank you all very much.
Our next speaker is Mr. Alan Clyde, representative, and he wants to speak to us about the ISD and HVAC.
Mayor, and also the council, thank y'all for letting me speak here tonight, and also thank y'all for letting me speak here as well. So my name is Alan Pride. A lot of people know me as Temu Pride on Facebook. I use a different name due to my work. I don't like my name being on the internet. But I've been working along with the mayor and also several other people on trying to get us switched over from BISD to Hardin Jefferson. It's a long process. It has taken a lot longer than I had anticipated, and I know everybody wants to get this moving. So let me talk about the process first, and I'll try to make this within 3 minutes here. The process, the first step is to get a petition and get 51% of the registered voters to sign it. Once this is done, we can give it to both boards, the Hardin Jefferson Board and the BISD Board, and by Texas law, they have to hold a hearing on it and they have to vote on it. If both boards say no, we are done. Okay? If one board says yes and the other says no, we can appeal to TDA, and they will be the final decision maker. In my head, I have played this out a lot of times, and I think Hardin Jefferson would take us. I think BISD wouldn't want to let us go because of our tax base. So we will give them the opportunity. It is a perfect time though, because the Board of Managers is on their way out next May. So they don't have to feel any recourse from making a good choice for us. The hardest part of this has been finding a way to get these signatures and to organize it. And we brainstormed time and time again ways to get this done. And I think we will have to set up shop here, have everybody come in and sign it that want to come and sign it, and they'll have to go door to door. I really need help with this. We all need help with this. If you want to help by talking to your neighbor, talking to other neighbors, walking down the block, talking to everybody that you can, it would greatly help. And I have the actual petition right here with me. I'll be outside after this. Anybody that wants to sign, please stop by. I also want to give anybody my cell phone and email address if you want to contact me. Okay? So my name is Alan Pride, and my phone number is 409-999 and then 5001. My email address is tamupride@gmail.com. So if you have any questions, I will stay after the meeting and I'll answer whatever I can. And I'm getting close on time.
You have an announcement about Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We can ask you questions, but you got to stay longer.
Sure, great, perfect. I'm all for that.
TamuPride@what?
@gmail.com. And the city has allowed me to sit out here, and also bring Walker and her family to sit out here and to collect signatures August 6th, which is not this Saturday, but next Saturday. I'll be out here from 10 to 6, and I'm going to bring a barbecue pit, cook up some food, and have some water for everybody. Please stop on by. Yes, ma'am.
Can we set up a thing down by the fire station November, the election day, and collect signatures from the voters that day?
That'd be great too. I hope, I have to see if it would interfere with any election law.
We can do it.
It should, as long as you're way away.
That's the like to keep from the door.
Election's going to be here.
Yeah,
I'm all for that, absolutely.
you're way away from the election.
We don't have the signatures, I think.
I hope to. I hope to get this done in a month or so. It depends how much help we have.
August 6th, you're going to do that.
I'll be right here in the parking lot. I'll be camped out, answering questions, cooking up food, and hopefully getting people to sign.
Do you know anything about when the events to be issued to the boards? Do they have a time limit on when they have to address it? Or
There is a certain time limit. I'm not quite sure. It's either 90 days or 60 days, something like that. No. I would hope to meet with them formally first, get all the wrinkles ironed out first, and get all the wheels greased.
How many registered voters are here?
They only meet once a month, and you have to have the agenda to sometimes.
Yes, all two of the superintendents from both. And I will serve them with a petition and get that ball rolling. I've already spoke with people from Hardin Jefferson, and they're very open to it. Yes, very open. It's a great tax base. It's a great city.
How many registered voters are in Bevel Oaks?
I don't know. Okay. I'll have to figure that out.
There was over 1,100 in our last one.
There's still time right now to register. I know a lot of people who get, that are 21, 22 years old that probably aren't registered.
I would hope so, and there's also a lot of people that have moved in that haven't registered as well. And we can make sure everybody's registered, that would also help too. That'd be fantastic.
Just check with Kim on that, she'll help you with that.
Okay, thank you. Everybody, thank y'all very much. I'm going to stay afterwards, okay?
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is our White, our council. We owe him a big thank you for his participation, actually on the board, and his folks out here.
Mayor Ford, council members, I'm Constable White. Well, I'm a little underpaid also. Just a little bit underpaid. First off, I want to thank you all for letting me participate, and I want to know my deputy had a great time, and I'm committed to this community and to the 4th of July parade every year, and I'm in office every day. And I'm also here to give you a report on my office. I've been in office 4 months, and we've made tremendous strides with that office. I don't know if you all saw last week, I did a little piece with Channel 6 morning show to say, give people an idea of what the constable does. Deputies have new uniforms. We're providing bailiff service for the 2 JPs. We're moving anywhere from 600 to 700 papers a month. So we're doing what we're, by statute, we're supposed to do. Okay. I want to give everybody my cell phone number. Sure, absolutely. For 36 years, I got calls in the middle of the night. I'm okay. It's 409-466-9158. My email address is ewhite@co.jefferson.tx.us. If you have any questions, call me, email me. If I don't answer, leave me a message or send me an email, and I'll get back to you. Okay? Any questions of me tonight? Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. And I do plan on coming to the meetings, try to get here every other month when I can come.
I
Okay?
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Our next speaker is Martha Butler.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. I came here to talk about, they're talking about raising our fees for our trailer parks from $100 to $500 a year. I'm just like everybody else. I pay taxes. I pay a lot of taxes between my trailer park and my restaurant. I have expenses. The people in my trailer park pay taxes to Bevel Oaks. I pay each trailer tax, plus I pay property tax. Plus I pay on the restaurant, plus everything else in there. I don't know, I have done everything that the city has asked of me. I have just put in a $10,000 unit in my restaurant. We took care of the trailer park as they wanted. We did everything that they asked us to do. but ladies and gentlemen, this is just a big jump. I mean, $100, we used to pay 25, then it went to 50, then it went to 100. Okay, I don't mind, but you have some of these other trailer parks that don't have as many, you know, Tim doesn't have that many in his, and, you know, we have, Mike has got some in his, and I just don't know the purpose of it, and I don't mind paying that $100, I really don't. So, if y'all would consider it, I would appreciate it if y'all could consider not charging us up to $500 for that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Mike Frederick.
How y'all doing? I'm Mike Frederick. I'm another owner of one of the trailer parks. Anyway, I'm concerned about the price going up from $100 to $500 also. Is it that you're losing money at the charging $100 or what? I really don't understand. I have a trailer park in Beaumont, Lumberton, and there's no fee that we have to pay. We also have to pay a bond every year also. Anyway, we think $500 is ridiculous. That's a big jump. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I believe if there's no one else, we will move on into our agenda items. Well, no, we do have one other thing. We have the report from the Neighborhood Watch.
Yes, ma'am, I have that. We had one telephone fraud. We had 9 traffic offenses. We had 2 barricades moved. Remember, this is for June. We had 4 suspicious activities, which checked out okay. We had 1 vehicle recovery, which was a golf cart that had been stolen. We had 1 assault on a family with no injuries. We had 4 assists. We had 1 theft, 1 fire, 1 family disturbance, 3 alarms, 1 theft, which they left the store without paying, 1 harassment call, and 1 abandoned vehicle. And that's it.
All right, now we will move on to our consent items. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent items as they are presented?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, our next items, we just have 2 action items. The first one is the consideration or approval of spending $3,200 to Maverick Communications in this budget year for the camera system. This system is what we discussed at our last meeting because Kim had found that, we know that we're having issues with trying to get our minutes out on the web so people can see them. And she had extreme difficulty this last time when she was trying to get our budget meeting out there. Actually, she thought she had it working and then she was having to leave town. And lo and behold, it uploaded something all right, but it was a repeat of our last regular meeting instead of the one that she had. And then it took, how many hours?
I started it, when I came back, I started at 11:30 and it uploaded it and emailed me at 8 something that night that it finally released.
And this bogs her system down to where she can not do any work at all, hardly on her computer while this is going on. So we felt like if this was something that we, thought that it was worth doing, period, that we really needed to go ahead and do it this budget year. And then, if we still have fund balance in this year to pay for it, then it would just free that up for next year. If this is something you want to do anyway. If not, then we'll just have to continue to struggle with it. And we'll get it out there whenever we can get it out there, because it's just, it's something we don't have any control over. It just takes that long to do it, and it's real iffy and very cumbersome. So that's why that is on here at this point. So, do I hear a motion to approve us going ahead and making this purchase this year?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further questions or discussion about that? Kim?
Who seconded that?
I wanted to ask Kim again, you know, it just says on here, or you just mentioned the camera system, but there was actually more involved with that. It had something to do with our phone lines as well, did it not? Could you go over that to refresh our memories?
Yes, that was a two-part system. The first part of that we can do now. That didn't cost anything. And what that part was, the system, we switched the companies, the security companies, to come out, and the current company that we had uses phone line systems to track our fire alarms and our burglary. And we have both buildings. And I contacted some different companies, and one of the companies came out and said that they could do it through the internet. And to do so with AT&T, we could get AT&T, not New Wave, because I ain't even going with that one. But we could go with AT&T and get DSL, and they would knock out 2 of our phone lines, because with DSL you automatically get a phone line, you're automatically paying for one. And so it would knock out 4 phone lines altogether, 2 here, 2 there. And it would cut out, I think it was $1,700 a year that we'd be paying in our phone lines. And it would do all of our burglary systems and fire alarms via the internet. And that we can do immediately. That's not something that would cost us anything or anything like this. What this is would add 4 camera systems to this building, including a camera in here so that it would record the videos. It would put a microphone in here as well, and it would upload so that whenever I got back to the office on Friday morning, it would immediately be into my system at the office, and we could upload it onto the web. And I wouldn't have to do a 3-step process that I have to do now that takes me from 11:30 to 8:30 to do so. And that's what is the big cost, is the $3,200 in order to do the 4 camera systems. But it would also put us 3 camera systems outside, and it would monitor all of our entryways into this building at all times as well. The inside camera would only be active during meetings. It would not be active if the Civic Center was rented. We would have to switch it on and be able to turn it on during meeting times.
Pretty much answered my question about the microphone. I didn't hear you say last time that it had a microphone.
Yes, and they would put a microphone up, kind of like that little thing is right there. It would look like that. It would probably go right there because it'd go right above where the mayor sits. And it's a multi-directional microphone, so it would pick up everybody. And so we wouldn't have to have all the microphones out and about either. We'd still have to have the microphone over at the podium, but we wouldn't have to have all the microphones out here and getting all the feedback and stuff.
Now we're looking into that.
Yes.
Is there any other questions? Okay, so we're ready to vote? Okay, well, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next one is the consideration or approval of changing the mobile home park permit fees from $100 per year to $500 per year. This was brought up last month, or last 2 weeks ago, in our council meeting, our budget meeting. And at the time, we said, okay, we'll put it on this agenda and we will bring it back here, more information on it. So I asked Kim to do some research on it, and because I was here at the time that we started this, and I knew what the intent was at that time. It was not intended to make any money. It was just strictly to cover the cost of having the inspections and everything. So I'll let Kim tell you what she found out in her research on this situation before we go into making a decision.
Okay. I went back and I looked at multiple things. I wanted to make sure I covered everything. The first thing I did is I went back and pulled property taxes. As Ms. Botro stated, they do already pay property taxes, both land taxes on the land, whoever owns the land pays land taxes, and whoever owns the mobile home pays taxes on that mobile home. So we do get taxes paid on both pieces of property. And then we went back and I pulled the minutes from when it was originally placed into effect. And it was talked about that the whole purpose of it was to cover the cost of like my salary, the code enforcement salary, to go out and inspect it, do the inspection. There is a 2-page inspection sheet that our code enforcement officer goes out and does. At the time, it would take our code enforcement officer and our building inspector. However, our current code enforcement officer is a building inspector. He's a licensed commercial and residential building inspector. So he does all of this for us now, and he does every bit of this. So I called and talked to him for a little bit and asked him how long it takes him to do this, what that cost would entail. Checked the, for every bit of it, what it would take for us for each mobile home, if he did all of them, what the cost and everything would be. Would the $100 per mobile home park cover his fees, plus the fees of us sending out the letters to them, telling them it's time to renew, sending out their certificates that they get, the whole 9 yards? Would it cover that? And it came back that it would cover that. It does cover every bit of it, and it gives us a little bit of room in the event that if there's an issue, if there is a violation, and we need to deal with that. We do have to send out certified letters to them if there was a violation, and there's enough room there left to cover that in the event that there's a violation, in order for them to fix that, because they do have 30 days or 60 days, depending on the violation, to fix it. And, the last couple of times, there's not been any violations with anybody, but there is room for that. So, and then I went back and I said, okay, well, let me call some of the other cities and see what the other cities do. I called Sour Lake, I called Lumberton, I called Silsbee, I called Beaumont, and checked with them. And none of them charged an annual permit fee. Some of them had, 2 of them charged at one time when you want to set up a mobile home park, but none of them charge an annual permit fee. So that's what I paid.
Okay.
One thing that I thought of that we didn't think of, I don't think we were talking about this, whenever they move another trailer in, is there a permit that they get for that?
Yeah. Well, they come in and they tell us about it, and they have to get a water sewer and tie into that and do those plumbing and those kind of work.
Well, what's that, I mean, you're saying that inspection sheet,
It's once a year.
that's for every trailer?
If they go through and inspect every single trailer in their mobile homes, yes, in the parks.
And then that's covered in the $100?
Okay, anybody else?
I know.
Oh, you want to say something?
Well, I was trying to say that when last we met a couple of weeks ago, I indicated that I would entertain or be interested in entertaining looking at this, but at the time, I did not realize that it was not a revenue generating type of permit. I had no idea it was just for fees. So in lieu of the fact, or when you consider the fact that all the taxes that Ms. Boudreaux mentioned that we're all aware that they pay, I feel like we're going to leave it alone.
I think it's good that Ms. Boudreaux and Mr. Frederick came down to explain that, I mean, we don't know.
Well, I believe it was explained to you last, 2 weeks ago, because I told you exactly what she said, but,
I don't think you told us.
I did. I told you that,
We'll go back and look at it.
you can listen to it, just listen to it, I told you. But anyway, it was your idea, so, let's take it and let's vote. All in favor of raising it, please say aye.
Wait a minute, if I don't have a motion yet.
Okay, I hear a motion then. Do we have a motion to do this? I think I did ask you a while ago, do we have a motion? But, okay, do we have a motion to approve this? You make the motion to approve it, okay? Do I hear a second?
So wait, is this motion
To approve it, yeah.
increase it to $500?
Yeah. Do I hear a motion to approve it?
I'm not making that one.
Okay, then it dies for lack of a motion. Done deal. You're welcome. All right, now we have a report from Councilman Frujo. We'll turn it over to him.
Don, did you get that light again, please? Yes, sir.
I'll get it. Okay.
Let's see. I wanted to screen, I just wanted it to but anyway. Okay, I wanted to share with you this evening a project that DD6, upon our request, has agreed to do, but I wanted to give you some background first of what's going on here. Let's see if I can, all right, let's see what happens if I do that. There we go. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to orient you to what we're looking at and talk about our park project. I'm sure most of you are aware that we have received a grant from the Texas Parks and Wildlife for a grant to build a playground. So, what this survey is here, well, I'll stay over here. Okay, this is River Oaks Boulevard. Here's the fire station, the basketball court, City Hall. Here's River Bend. Okay, the proposed location for our park is right here. This is some playground equipment. This is going to be the parking area for it. This line right here is the boundary line of the property for the fire station. This little shaded area right here is the proposed gazebo that's going to be part of the playground equipment. Now, these other shaded areas here, this one, let's see, okay, so from here, around here, and around here, that's our phase 1 hike and bike trail. Whenever we submitted this plan to Texas Parks and Wildlife, they wanted to know if we had any plans to further develop this property that we own, which this was, by the way, a 10-acre tract that we, I'll say, inherited from Beaumud, which runs from here, back to here, down to here, over here, and that was originally a 10-acre tract. Okay, this piece of property right here is the old Bounds property, and I think the Garcias live there now. So anyway, so this shaded area right here is phase 1 of a hike and bike trail. Phase 2 would be here up through this wooded, and this is heavily wooded, as most of you know, through here. So this would be phase 2 that comes around here. Now it looks like it's less of a project, but because this is heavily wooded and we have to have a couple crossings across this ditch, the cost of the 2 phases are roughly equal. Now, this tract of land up here is the 13.62 acres that DISD currently holds. Okay, so if you recall, back in November of last year, we had a lot of heavy rains. We had some minor flooding. Minor if it wasn't your house that got watered. I think we had 2 or 3. And shortly thereafter that, the mayor ran into Josh Allen, who is the director of DD6, and she was telling him that we had applied in October for a grant to build a park out here. And we had a problem here. I'm going to call this area on River Bend the low water crossing, where this ditch comes through here and crosses there. This is the first area to flood in Bevel Oaks. And so we talked to them. She talked to him about that, told him we were having problems there. We needed some relief. We needed some help. And then we had also applied for a grant to build this park, and we had some walking trails that we wanted to do in some further phases as we went down the road. She mentioned to him that we had this big ugly ditch that runs from all the way up here at Sweet Gum, 1,550 feet down here until it gets to River Bend. She wanted to know if there was anything that they could do to help us with that. Mr. Allen told her, well, he said, I think DD6 has got some money for concrete lining benches. You ought to make a request to them to see if they will do that. So we called the district engineer, Doug Canat. He came out and visited with us on December the 1st of last year. The mayor and I took him around, showed him what our problems and concerns were, and could they help us? Well, so we didn't hear from him for the rest of December. We didn't hear from him through January. And in early February, I sent him an email and kind of gently reminded him that we had met back on December the 1st and requested some help, and would they be able to help us. So he sent me an email back, and he said yes, they would. and that they would not concrete line this ditch, but they would reshape it for us. Now, they said they would also would redo this crossing here. It's got one 36-inch RCP pipe through it, and to make matters worse, there's a sewer line that runs right through the middle of it that serves this house right here. It's a manhole here. Sewer line runs through it and comes down here. So what they said they would do was they would replace this 36-inch pipe with two 48s if we remove the utility obstructions, being the sewer line on this side, the water line on this side. Now, I stated when I made this presentation 2 weeks ago to the council and the members that were here that the purpose of reshaping this ditch was for drainage issues. Now, after we had our meeting last, on the 14th, I was talking back with the district engineer a few days after that, and he reminded me that, you know, that the mayor and I had asked him, could they concrete line this ditch because we were going to develop this piece of property. So that the main impetus for them reshaping the ditch from here to there was not necessarily for drainage improvement, but for an improvement for our park that we wanted to develop. So I misstated that. It was December the 1st, 7.5 months ago. But anyway, I wanted to clear that up, apologize, but I just forgot that. But it doesn't matter in the need for this project as we go along, and I'll try to explain to you. So, right now, as most of you know, you can, if you drive in right here, this is the entrance to where the swimming pool used to be. You can drive in there, and if you drive in and park right here and walk back, you can see what that ditch looks like at this time. It's just a ditch. It's as simple as that. Well, so we want to develop our park here close to that ditch, and this map was drawn with these walking trails on it before DD6 came back and told us what their requirements were going to be. They said that they would reshape this ditch for us, but here's what they had to do. They want a 90-foot easement, and that's what this heavy dotted line here and here is, all the way through here and here. So they wanted a 90-foot easement through here that we had to provide to them, and they would reshape this ditch for us. Excuse me. So let me see now. Okay, Kim. Maybe this is it. No. Kim, I'm gonna need your help. Okay, here we go. Never mind. Oh. Okay. We'll set that down. Just say, yeah, got it. Okay.
You got it on slideshow, Kim.
Come on up here. What about that?
Oh, what you done?
Quit playing with that. Let's see.
Where do you want to?
That's a good question. This one right here. There we go.
Be gentle.
Yeah. Okay, so this ditch that runs from Sweet Gum all the way over to River Bend varies in depth from anywhere from about 2 feet deep at Sweet Gum. It gets 5 to 6 feet deep about in the area where the park is, and then it goes on down and it's 4 feet in places, so it varies. So I made this little typical cross-section drawing to show you if the ditch was 4 feet deep, what it would look like. So one of their requirements is that they're going to slope this ditch on a 4-to-1 slope. That means for every foot of depth, there's going to be 4 foot of length this way. So if it's 4 foot deep, 4 foot deep here, that's dimension right there. The slope is about 16 feet. The reason they use 4-to-1 is so that they can mow these slopes with zero turn radius motors. Now, they say that they will maintain this for us in perpetuity, which they will, but what that really means is if there's a problem with the ditch, they'll come back, but as far as for mowing the grass, they'll mow it a couple times a year. So it will become Bevel Oaks' responsibility to keep it mowed, which in our park, if we develop this area, we would do that. Okay, so on most of their ditches, they have, you see I've got a back ditch, it's called a back slope swell, and this is their requirement, not ours. So what they do, and this is not drawn to scale, so rather than allow the water to run off of the ground into the ditch and erode the ditch slopes, they make this little back ditch back here, and they ever so often they put now he said to use an 18-inch diameter downspout is what they call them, but it's just an 18-inch corrugated plastic pipe. So he said there'd be about 14 or 7 pairs of these from one end to the other. So that's what this is showing. That would be on either side of this. So, you know, right here, I've shown this as being a 4-foot deep ditch. That would be the average, but there's some places that will be 5 or so. Well, where it's 5 feet, this is going to go out to 20. So, but that's what it's going to look like. In general, in theory, that's what it's going to look like according to the district engineer. Now, which one did I hit? The middle one?
Have you zoomed in?
No, I don't think I did.
Just hit the arrow.
Hit the arrow?
Yes.
Okay. I forgot which way I was going here. Okay, so let's talk a minute about what DD6 requirements are for them to do this work. First of all, we have to provide all the easements necessary, including the surveys for the ditch and the easement locations. We have to provide all the materials necessary for the project, such as pipe, concrete, cement, stabilized sand, backfill, concrete, and rebar. Bevel Oaks will relocate all utility obstructions for the new culvert installation on River Bend. We must provide an area to dispose of excess brush from the clearing operations. DD6 will haul this excess brush to a location provided by Bevel Oaks, but we have to dispose of it, which we're hoping they provide a brush clearing contractor. We're hoping he will take the logs, leaving us just with the limbs that we can burn on that piece of property over there. We have to provide them a place to dump all the spoil dirt that's left over from the operation of reshaping this ditch. Okay, now, let's go back. I was talking about easements before. So right now, Bevel Oaks owns this piece of property. So the easement on this side and on this side from here to there, we will give them. We'll give them an easement for that. This piece of easement over here, we have applied for a FEMA grant to buy out this piece of property as a repetitive loss piece of property. If that grant goes through and we purchase that piece of property, then that house will be torn down. We will own this piece of property and we'll be able to give them the easement for this side of the ditch here as well. Over here, BISD owns this property up here. So the easement for the ditch we can take by means of eminent domain if we had to. There's no question we can get that. Our attorney tells us that there is a good possibility that we can negotiate with BISD to obtain that because they have agreements with DD6, the city of Beaumont, other people, other municipalities, if you will, that generally they give the easement, a drainage easement, when they need it. Now, we've got this board of managers that we're dealing with up there, so we're not quite sure how that's going to go, but I did talk with the attorney this week, and he told me that the district engineer was meeting with the person from BISD. There was a good possibility that we could obtain this easement without anything other than legal fees to file it, but he wasn't sure. there's this little piece of property right here that belongs to be, of course, that all belongs to BISD, but there's this little piece of property right here that would be cut off by this easement. So we're going to try to obtain that as well. But we probably could not take that by eminent domain since we don't have a use for it. You have to have a use for it for your city and municipality before you can take it by eminent domain. So since, and they know, since we can't take that, we may not end up with it. Now, if we have to purchase the easement from BISD, then we can purchase this piece of property as well. Don't know, we haven't got that far. We're just in the talking stages. So, worst case scenario, if we had to purchase this without going to court and taking it by eminent domain, our attorney tells us it may cost around $14,000. Well, that's 1.18 acres if we bought the whole thing. It's only 0.667 acres, I think it says up there, if we just buy that. But DD6 won't perform any work or whatever without an easement because they're going to maintain it, they're going to build it to their specifications, they want an easement to before they will commit any funds to doing that work. Okay, so going back to our hike and bike trails here, we're going to need to cross this ditch in two locations, here and here. As we obtain this piece of property, we might extend this out over here, but we're still going to have to cross it in two places. So we're going to need two crossings there, and DD6 has said while they were out here doing this work, reshaping this ditch, that if we provided the materials, they would go ahead and install those crossings while they were here. So I think you can readily see that before we start developing this property all over, that this work needs to be done first. If we were to go out here and build our park and put this gazebo in, whether or not we backed it up this way or not, this is still the access. They're going to be running heavy equipment all through here. If we don't do this work, if we don't have them reshape this ditch before we try to install our playground equipment, the gazebo, later on two phases if we're successful in getting grant money, you can see if you move this back to where it's out of the easement, because we won't be able to put that walking trail on the easement if we give it to them, so the walking trail will come along out here, and then we will be able to cross it. This portion will have to go over here because they don't want us to build anything in the area that they maintain with the exception of a crossing. So I think it's easy to see that this ditch reshaping is vital to the development of this whole piece of property for the city. We want something there that's going to look nice, and you don't want to put the cart before the horse, so this work needs to be done first if we're going to do it before we start developing these pieces of property. Now, let's see here. All right, so while we're on this page, so the cost to the city, our portion, if you will, just for the reshaping of the ditch, which is just going to be the downspouts that I was telling you about, the cement stabilized sand. There's some concrete that they have to pour around the mouths of those, and I'll show you a worksheet in a minute. But just the cost for that to us is about $19,000. The cost for the two crossings here, our cost for the material for that is about $8,200. I've already mentioned that hopefully at worst, it's going to cost us about $14,000 for the easements. Hopefully it's going to cost a lot less. And then there's going to be a couple $1,000s on top of that for some additional surveying that has to be done. We've had the surveyor come out, he's established the survey for this dotted line here. The only thing that he has to do is come out and actually stake it on the ground so that the easements can be written, and then when DD6 comes out to do the work, then they would know exactly where they're going to be building their ditches at.
What type of crossing are you considering doing?
Pardon me?
The two crossings, what type of crossing?
Okay, so right now, the two crossings that we've talked about, they're gonna build a clay bridge across there. They're gonna dig out the middle of the clay bridge, put a 48-inch culvert in there. They're gonna slope the sides, this side going down, this will be the upstream side, this will be the downstream. It'll be sloped down into the ditch, and it'll have concrete paving poured on this side and on that side to keep it from being washed away. Now, when we come back at whatever time to do these hike and bike trails, if we're successful, then we'd pour a 10-foot concrete wide path across there, which is what I envision all of this would be, 10-foot wide across there. So, let's see.
A concrete den?
Pardon me?
A concrete path? Are you?
The walking trails later on, we'll be doing that probably.
Yeah.
Over in Beaumont over there on Folsom, they just finished a
Yeah.
several $1 million walking.
Well, it'll have sides, right?
Pardon
Like
me?
the wooden sides or something?
Wooden sides.
Just
If
be
you're
a walkway.
crossing
Well, envision, let's say this trail is 10 feet wide. Let's say it's a 10-foot wide trail. So the clay that they would backfill across the ditch with might be 20 feet wide, and then it's going to be sloped on both sides, and that would have a concrete revetment poured on both sides to keep the clay from washing away.
I just can't picture it.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we've been there. Okay, so here's where I calculate. Wrong page. Okay, so here's where I calculated the cost based on what the district engineer told me that we needed to figure for our portion of the work. So here's the materials for the ditch that I told you a while ago was about $19,000. For the hike and bike crossings, the two bridges, if you will, that will cross there, that's about $8,200. The easement cost in the survey comes to about $16,000 for a cost of about $43,500. Round that off to $45,000. That's what we've put in the budget at this time temporarily. We've not voted to accept it yet, but that's what we've put in the budget for this year, $45,000 to do this work. And that's what DD6 requires, that we allot the money and write them a letter and tell them that we have decided, we voted to do this, and that we want them to put this in their 2017 budget, or their work list, not their budget. And then they will schedule this work for us sometime in 2017. Well, based on the last 2 years, hopefully they won't start it until June, because it's been extremely wet in March, April, and May. So anyway, so if we did this, if they started in June-ish or so it would be like maybe September or so before we would be set to start and do our playground and the gazebo over there, which means not that it matters. We could still do it in the 2017 budget year, but again, it doesn't matter. We have 3 years to spend this grant money, so it really wouldn't matter when we do it after that.
Where's the money for the, getting the right of way? I don't see that 14,000.
Easement cost, 14,000 right there.
Okay. Or,
Okay, now, I didn't mention this when we were talking about the low water crossing, and I'm not gonna go back to it, but the cost, our cost for the work that we would have to, or the materials that we would have to provide, was roughly $30,000, and DD6 said they would do that the following year, so that we didn't have to come up with so much money in this budget year. So that $30,000 would go into the 2018 budget. Now, let us see. Okay, now, well, back up. Get the hang of this. Okay. So this is where I told you the park is proposed to go at this time. If you drive in, right now there's about 4 pine trees right here. If you drive in and stop and walk straight ahead to this ditch right here, whoops. That's what it looks like. I was standing in the bottom of the ditch when I took that. Now, the only thing different that ditch is going to look like is DD6 was supposed to be out here this week to spray weed killer in, because they don't maintain this ditch right now because they don't have an easement for it. And they can't tell me why, because when the community was platted way back when, and Norman would know that, but he's not here, all the other ditches that we have throughout the neighborhood that DD6 maintains, they were all platted and they were given easements so that they could go on that property to maintain those, which they did just a couple weeks ago. They went out and weeded most of the ditches. So imagine, if you will, this was sprayed with weed killer this week, and in a couple weeks that would all be black. Now, try to envision that our park, which would be back this way, you know, would you want your children or your grandchildren playing in that park, being this close to a ditch that they could walk over here and fall down in? And this is standing on top of the ground, same place. I was standing down here when I took that picture. I just walked up the hill a little bit and took a picture looking down toward River Bend. So if we don't do this before we try and develop the park and the walkway or the pathways or whatever, that's what it's going to look like from now on, because they won't be able to get in there and work with concrete walkways, parks, or whatever. Now, I emailed the district engineer and I asked him if he could direct me to some ditches that they had done that would look similar to what we're going to do. Now, this is at Klein Park on North Major Drive. This ditch is about, well, it's about 8 or 9 feet deep on this side, but it's not nearly that deep on that side. But you can see it's generally sloped back. I'm not sure it's 4 to 1, but I still think you could see if this was our ditch, you could cut it with a mower. Obviously, DD6 has not cut that in a while, but luckily ours is going to be shallow, relatively shallow, so laid back 4 to 1, like that picture that I showed you a while ago, can be easily maintained by us, whether or not DD6 cuts the grass, and they won't. I mean, we'll have to. Okay, now, any questions, council?
Gotta be done before the park, if it makes sense.
You're exactly right.
How are you gonna maintain those three, let's see, you're gonna have over 3,000 feet of ditches now weedy instead of just the 1,500 feet of the main ditch going through. You said they're gonna put some berm ditches be on each side, those won't be able to be mowed, right?
Well, and I mentioned when I made my sketch that it was not drawn to scale. Let me see if I can get back there. Whoa, there we go. Yeah. Stop, please. Let that thing down. Okay, so this isn't drawn to scale. It's not going to be that pronounced. It's going to be much wider, because he directed me to another ditch that you can go look at, but you can't see it from the road because the grass is high. You have to drive out or get out and walk. But when you go down 105, when you pass that Legacy Academy, I think it's Legacy, then the next ditch before you get to that little community right there, or little development, is one of their ditches. Now, about 100 yards down that ditch, and you can't see, it's got one of these back slope swales. Well, so that makes it look like it's real close, but in actuality, this dimension right here is probably about 20 feet, and because it's 15 or 20 feet here, it's not that deep, and you can run all through it because they run through it with mowers. And they have cut that ditch that I was just describing to you. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and the grass is about that tall again already. So, anyway, okay, any other questions?
And other alternatives that we have is if we're gonna mow all that ditch now, which would be 1,500 feet, which the park won't be using, but just a very small portion of that. Due to the fact that most of that's back there behind the little city office over there, the water department office, or city hall, whatever you want to call it. That's all gonna be mowed and everything too. You're gonna maintain the whole 1,500 feet, right, once they start doing it.
That is correct.
Now, you're gonna be paying somebody to do that, and you're gonna have these 2 ditches which aren't really clear as to whether they're gonna be mowable or not. You know, based on that picture, I would say they're not. If they're 20 feet wide, I would say they would be. But all those culverts that are in there are all gonna have to be weed eated around. You're not gonna be able to mow around those or spray them with weed killer like you said you don't wanna do.
They're gonna pour concrete around the mouth of those pipes, both, and I didn't mention that, thanks for reminding me, but this downspout, as they call it, and he said to figure 18 inch, they might be 12. But anyway, this is a concrete apron that's poured around this pipe. It's gonna be 6 or 8 feet wide, depending on the diameter of the pipe. It's gonna be at least 10 feet long coming up this way. It's gonna have this little toe wall around it, around the edges all the way around, so that water can't wash out underneath the concrete here. And assuming that there's gonna be a downspout opposite on the other side, excuse me, it'll be the same thing. This dark area depicts 4-inch concrete paving. So,
Is that cement stabilized sand or is that concrete?
this is concrete right here.
We're paying for that or the county does?
All the materials Bevel Oaks is paying for.
So you're gonna put in 14 10-foot wide concrete slabs around those pipes, because you said there's gonna be 14, I believe, all together.
There's gonna be 7 pairs, there's gonna be 14 pipe, there's gonna be seven places that look just like this. And there's gonna be concrete paving, 6 feet wide, 10 or 12 feet up the slope. There's gonna be concrete poured around the mouth of the pipe right here. And there'll be concrete in the bottom so that when this water comes washing down through here, it'll hit concrete before it starts going downstream.
So the other alternative to not doing that would be to maintain that ditch with the present company that we have now doing the lawn service, and go ahead and weed eat, keep that ditch clean right there where the park's at. So it wouldn't look like that. I mean, that's a gross exaggeration of what it would look like if we were maintaining it where we have the park, right? I mean, it could be weed eated.
Maybe you didn't see the picture, but I saw
There it
it.
is.
But I don't think we want to pay somebody to weed eat this every month or whatever. And keep in mind, it's just a ditch. It has no shape. I mean, it's all kind of widths throughout. You can see it's steep over here. It's more shallow here. But, I mean, it just varies all down through there. Are you suggesting this is what we want, a developed piece of property, or a 10-acre tract that we're trying to develop into a park? This is what we want it to look like if we weed eat it or if we spray it?
When you presented this, you said it was for drainage purposes, and I spent a lot of time over there talking to people about the ditches that were draining into that ditch. My uncle's lived, he's 93 years old, he's lived out here 50 years. Never had any water come out of that ditch on the other side of the road. I'm like, why does he want to make this ditch, make this gigantic ditch through here? I mean, it didn't
What do you
make
mean
sense at
no
all.
water coming out? Where are you talking about? No
He's
water?
never had water come out of his ditch behind his house on the boulevard. That's one of the ditches. There's 2 ditches that drain into this big ditch that you're talking about constructing, right? They go across Sweet Gum. I got pictures of both of them. I mean, surely you look at what's going to drain into that ditch.
Surely. Whoa now. Okay, so none of this is on the map, but there's probably
Way up in the top right-hand corner.
Just give me a minute, will you? Just give me a minute. Don't hold me to this, but there's probably somewhere between 30 and 50 acres that this ditch drains. This right here. Let's see. This is 2. So this was 10 acres right here. 13.62 here. The area from here that goes up to Moss Hill that area drains back this way. This area over here on the boulevard, these houses in this area drain over here because, as he was mentioning, while it doesn't show, there is a ditch right here that comes across the road. And that ditch goes back here and it goes behind some houses and it goes all the way back up, I think almost to Capitol. So this area in here, this is Capitol, this is a corner house here. This ditch that goes up here toward Moss Hill, it drains back this way. And without the map, I can't tell you how far, but anyway, so it does drain part of this because I have the ditch map that has the arrows on it that shows the shows the direction that water runs. All right, so in addition to that area up there, all this area here, to some point, drains that way. There's a ditch right here that crosses the road almost at the lowest point right here. The sign that DD6 put up right here with the tall post, this is that ditch that runs across here. That ditch runs back down here beside some houses that front River Bend, and it drains an area that from the backs of these houses and from the backs of Ms. Larson's house and down here where Lewis Leach lives, the back of that property drains into this ditch, and all that water is carried down through here. It has to get through that culvert right there.
Question, Dan, that one goes across right there, the pipeline, that one right there, could they open that up and do that too?
Probably, as far as opening up, no, because I'm trying to think. I can't remember. I can't remember if the culvert that's there runs over the top of the pipelines, and I think it does. And there's only one culvert there now. Now, that's not to say that another one couldn't be put in there, but you know, unless these people are experiencing problems with their drainage that this ditch feeds from here, then I don't know that it's necessary.
Well, it's got a big washout on that park side.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anybody that will experience any, backup water. Now, it is a good idea to get that water so it can flow and not flow over the road. I can see where you want to put a couple of culverts in over there, maybe. Like we did, didn't you do that on River Bend? The county did that?
Did it on River Road.
River Bend.
Did it on River Road.
You know where the pipe that I'm talking about on River Bend is down there where they only have the one pipe that goes under the thing that looks like a flume?
Yeah.
Did they put another pipe there?
No. And recall that I mentioned when I started that I had incorrectly stated that this portion of the project was for drainage. Now, again, the district engineer stated that there's no question that reshaping this ditch in this manner will help the drainage. But he reminded me that the reason that the mayor and I asked them to concrete line this ditch was for our park development. This low water crossing, no question, that's a done deal. That is a major bottleneck that we are going to solve in the near future. But, and again, alluding to what Councilman Marandino was saying, yes, it's going to cost us extra money to cut the grass through here. I don't know, probably once a month, probably not every two weeks, like we cut the yards or the lawns, if you will, that we maintain. But as long as a zero-turn mower can cut it, then once a month ought to be able to do it. And that's what DD6, that's how they maintain these ditches. I'm sure some of you have probably seen, they got a trailer they carry 4 of those big zero-turn mowers, and they go around cutting these ditch right-of-ways. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I hope I didn't put you to sleep.
Okay.